Here's your daily updates. Newsman Dennis Daily offers his take on the events of the day in another daily video blog.
Hi, and thanks again, everybody. You're looking at a pretty complicated intersection. It's almost an asterisk, and above it is a very large contraption to hold the street sign. This is the intersection of McDowell and 19th and Grand in Phoenix. Grand Avenue, you see, runs at a 45-degree angle up through here, and whenever it crosses an intersection, it looks really weird. You don't see a lot of places where three major streets come together in the same place. And why does it run at a 45-degree angle? Because it followed the old railroad. And the railroad went north out of downtown along 19th Street and then made a sweeping left turn. And it was at that point that Grand followed the angle of the railroad. Just look at Chicago, for example. Railroads went out of Chicago at every angle, and the towns along the way followed that angle. Here's Plymouth, Indiana, about an hour and a half out of Chicago. Notice the angle of the railroad and the streets. And, for example, in the Central Valley of California, here's Merced. The major streets and highways follow the railroad at an odd angle. In Dodge City, Kansas, the railroad went mostly east-west, but not quite. Notice this neighborhood is a little angular, off just a little. Compare it to one about 3 blocks away in a newer section of town where they straightened everything out. In my hometown of Washington, Indiana, the railroad meandered through town, left and right, but the city fathers kept the streets north and south, making provisions occasionally for a crossing. This one so steep, fire trucks couldn't cross it. It was indeed the coming of the railroads that changed America and set the pattern for how our streets were built. It's funny, the first time I ever visited Phoenix, my biggest memory when I left, aside from the heat, and at that time I had not lived in Las Vegas or Palm Springs, were these crazy intersections. Now they fixed some of them with overpasses, but they're still here, and from the air they look like an asterisk. I'm Dennis Daily with your daily news update.